Hey, what's good, everybody? Hope you guys are all well. I wanted to make this video. Well, have you read the title, Understanding the Dark Night of the Soul and Tower Moments? Well, I'll get into it, but basically something happened yesterday that kind of triggered everything. It got me thinking about things, so it was a catalyst for all of this. So yesterday, I was going, and it's funny because I had dreamed everything, so that's the craziest thing. Like, everything came true. So that's why I understand that it had to happen. But at the same time, it still kind of had me thinking about a lot of stuff. So basically, yesterday in the morning, I was going for a bike ride. Um, and I got hit by a car, right? And so, well, it was a van, right? But still, I don't know what they are, like a van or a small SUV or something like that, right? It hit me. And, I was going, I had the green light. This person comes and boom. And so, when they hit me after yesterday, I was making a video about this and a memory got triggered. And I remember because I got upset and everything. And after they hit me, they never stopped, right? I thought it was going to be a hit and run because they hit me and then they just, I guess I held on by some miracle. Like, I guess, I even looked down after I was like, oh, my leg's still there. It was like, I guess they must have hit me on my pedal or something. That's why I never hit my leg. And then I guess it probably pushed me to like the back tire. And you could see, I'll put a picture. The back tire is all bent. And I guess they just kept pushing. And I just held on. And boom, it pushed me out of the way. And then they stopped right there. And I was yelling at them. And but all that like had to do with the dream and how it came true. Like, first off, I made a video about it, about the seeing dead animals and the meaning. And I haven't seen any dead animals since, right? Like, it was just like leading up. I seen like a pigeon get hit in front of me. I don't think I've ever seen a bird just get hit right at the car in front of me. I talked about in the other video how, and then it flew and then I seen it like right there twitching. But luckily that wasn't me, right? Despite all the things that I saw, I was spared from that, right? And then also, like, I had a dream about that in the Jesus Take the Wheel, but I'm talking about the video I made, but I'm talking about how, I crashed, but in real life, like, it ended up me being hit. And then it was weird. Then some other stuff happened. And then there was this kid and the kid was all nervous and he threw up on me. And I was mad at first, but then I was more nurturing, like, hey, like, you're going to be okay, everything. If you go watch those videos, and it explains it in more detail. But that's kind of how it happened. Like, after I yelled at this kid that hit me, then I was like, I saw how nervous they were, and then I calmed down, and then I was like, hey, you know what? I'm good. I got my legs. I'm good. So then I calmed down. I even joked about it. Even though I was a little shaken up, I still was like nurturing towards, like, hey, it's cool, whatever. I even offered, like, hey, just pay this and whatever. I was trying to help out so they didn't have to call their insurance and then it's gonna be worse for them because I was obviously fine. But anyways, so yeah, after I was thinking about it, right? Because it's how many people don't get like a chance like that, right? But anyways, the point was I was kind of being pushed to do certain things. And maybe see me going on this bike ride or different things is like just taking up time to do other things instead of what you're kind of being led to do, right? So for me, I don't really get away with it. Like, when I'm being pushed to do something, I'll have something dramatic like that happen. As you can see, I didn't have a scratch on me, but just because they take care of me like that, you know what I mean? That's it, right? And the dream, even though it wasn't exact, but it really was, it reminds me of like, and hopefully no one takes like, I mean, it doesn't matter whether people take offense to it or not. And I'm not trying, I'll just say it so you guys can understand what I'm talking about. Like, when I was, younger and things were happening to me and I read the Bible, I remember one of the characters that stuck out to me a lot was Daniel, right? The prophet Daniel, because he's the one that would interpret dreams. And so, there was a time when I even thought, like, is that me? Like, did I reincarnate? And because it triggered that, I was like, because that's how I would dream stuff, and it would make sense to me, and other people couldn't decipher, like, even their own dreams sometimes. So I even thought, like, at one point, like, is that me? Because even that, not too long ago, I remember I was walking, in the mountains. I ran into, like, a mountain lion, right face to face with a mountain lion. I mean, it was still at a distance, but, they could leap, like, 20, 30, what is it, feet or something. So it was it could still pounce on me, like, kind of from where it's at. But, it's crazy because I heard these women's voices that were never even there. And then I went, and as soon as I was, like, in the clear, I was looking over because there was, like, all these trees in between once I went around through this trail. So I was looking up to make sure this thing didn't pounce on me. And then as soon as I put, like, my headphones were just hanging, and as soon as I put it on, it was at the part from when Daniel got thrown into the lion's den or something. Like, and whatever, Daniel was thrown into there, and nothing happened to him. And I was like, what? Because I had just, it wasn't a regular lion, but it was a mountain lion. And so I was like, oh, wow. So even then, it was funny that, like, on the, like, I couldn't even believe it that was there, like, on my MP3 player as that happened, right? Like, what are the chances? So anyways, just to say that, like, little things that sometimes will make you think things like, oh, I wonder if, I wonder that. It doesn't matter, because anyone that knows about the way everything works, it's like, it's almost like they don't want you to remember your past life, because it really has nothing to do with this life that you're living right now, right? It really doesn't. But I guess it's our quest to want to know who we are, understand things better, especially when you're starting to experience things. So let me get into the whole, I kind of have been explaining anyways, like, it felt like that was a tower moment for me, right? Like, getting hit on the bike, because there were things that I had to do that I feel like I was neglecting. So because of yesterday after that happened, first I was kind of sulky, right? I was sulking, like, I was all like, like someone, kind of not pouting, but more sulking, like, damn, like, why'd that happen to me? Like, it reminded me of when I did the interview with my friend Trish, how she said after she got hit by lightning, she felt like, damn, did I do something wrong? Like, what happened? Until her grandma gave her the perspective, or until she got older, talking about how then she felt like, okay, it was a gift, like, to remind you of something, of who you are. So in this case, yeah, I mean, it reminded me of that I had, the premonition was dead on, that I'm protected. Like, I got hit by a damn car and nothing, and I walked away without a scratch, even though my bike, and it's not going to cost that much, I went to check. It's only going to be like $100, which is still, I mean, the people that hit me are supposed to pay, but, so it's still, well, I got to take it, right? As long as the frame's not damaged and all that stuff. So anyways, so yeah, it probably didn't turn out that bad, and it forced me to do other things that I needed to do. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I was in a mood yesterday. I felt like, damn, did I do something wrong? Like, what the hell? What this and that? It really had me kind of in a mood for a while. But then after, I went and I climbed this mountain, and it felt good, So that's how I ended my night yesterday. After being all day in this funk, trying to figure out, but I was doing stuff at the same time. That's why it's funny that, I got hit by a car, and then I'm still like, I was just kind of in a daze, but still had the ball rolling, right? So that was a little tower moment, right? Had I not taken action, that's when it becomes like a dark night of the soul, because you don't just have one, you could have multiple ones, right? I was going through one. I still kind of am. I guess it's kind of ended already, but which is funny because I had dreamed about it a few weeks ago, that I finally, I had the anxiety and everything. I finally dreamed that I didn't have the anxiety no more. And if you see, I made a video about when I got my red-tailed hawk feathers. I had gotten 5 of them. Really 6, because there was another one I forgot to mention that I had gotten. But I got so it would be my 7th one, which, 7 isn't a good number, but I got one in the spirit world, right? It was like I was in the dream and this and that, and there was a red-tailed hawk feather. And I remember it was pointing to the right too, like it was bent to the right. So it made me feel like, okay, you're on the right path. And I guess the fact that it was awarded in the spirit world meant more. You know, like it was like that means there's a graduation, something I understand now spiritually, that they gave me this red-tailed hawk feather in the dream, right? So I was pretty blown away by that. I lost my train of thought. I forgot completely why I just brought that up about the red-tailed hawk feathers. I don't know, just whatever. Like as far as like oh yeah, the anxiety. So it was, I think, in the same dream with the anxiety that I was gonna be cured from the anxiety, and then I found this feather and everything. So I was on the right path. It was actually triggered. The anxiety, I realized it hit me hard last year, but it had started before there were already signs because of somebody, right? That came into my life, and you know, I guess it would probably be what people call karmic, like a karmic person, something like that. I really don't know. I still don't know what exactly this person's role was. But as far as they did trigger, they started giving me anxiety, this person, dealing with this person. And so when that happens, you got to see what in them is a reflection of you, right? Or it could just be like that, like maybe some karma that you had to pay from before, or something. Sometimes not even about you. Sometimes it's something. That's the thing to understand too, that sometimes it has nothing to do with you, and it's something that you know, you probably agreed to outside of here. You know, you agreed to be part of this contract, and then that person has to pay some karma for their actions. So it gets really complicated, right? But all that aside, things were triggered because of this person, right? I know I'm going all over the place. This is probably already really long already by now, but it was triggered by a person, right? And then I started going through this, I guess, kind of dark night of the soul because of all the stuff that happened after, you know, like anxiety, panic attacks, all kinds of things, right? And then after, it didn't even have to do with that person, but they were the first time ever I had anxiety or a panic attack. So, and then after, like, I guess maybe like a year later or 2 years later, then I had like all this other stuff happening, right? So that became a huge, like, dark night of the soul. Really, I mean, it got so bad, I was even thinking of, you know, like taking my life. That's how bad it got last year when I really went. That was like the epitome of a dark night of the soul, right? To really, that, like, not even being able to leave your house, feeling just like, and really not understanding, like trying to figure it out. Like, what is it? Like, is it something physical? Is it something spiritual? What exactly is going on? So, to bring more understanding to it, it's like, it's definitely triggered by things you fail to do, or things you hold on to, right? And it's like your subconscious will hold on to all these things. Just hold on and hold on. And one day it just explodes without you understanding why. And it could come in the form of a panic attack or anxiety and this and that. And you don't even understand what just happened. But the seeds had already been planted since, like, a while. Every little thing you were putting to the side that you failed to do had to do with that, right? Like, leading up to that point. Like, someone just said something. It was, I don't know, I think it was like you know, some religious thing that I was listening to. I think it was on the radio. My Bluetooth turned off, and it was on the church radio station. Some guy talked about, like, you know, about like when you don't send the letter and this and that, and I was like, oh wow, that's so funny, because I was just thinking about that, about that, like, because I actually did something like that recently, right? I actually wrote a letter, email to somebody, because I was in a ceremony, and I realized, it hit me while I was in a ceremony, that there was one person in the whole universe, really, like, that I had any kind of ill feeling towards. Like, I thought I had already finished that, but because the last time I messaged them, I kind of had it. I put out that energy, like, hey, like, I'm not on good terms with you, blah blah, like, don't contact me again. Somehow it was in there in my subconscious, and it hit me in a ceremony where I realized, oh wow, I have to fix that. Because if not, even if I pass, it's something that's gonna be there. So I send that message, and I say, hey, you know what, like, yeah, I don't want to have any resentment towards you. Like, this is like, I want to end this like in a good way, and this is just me closing this book, and that's it. Like, take care of yourself. Like, that's it. Like, and then I felt instantly relieved, right? Like, but I would have never acknowledged that. I had to be in a spiritual space, right? I had to be in the ceremony where it just hit me like, oh, wow, like I have to fix that. Because even though it may not seem important, subconsciously something told me that. Like, where that was the epiphany I got inside, the ceremony. It's kind of like I learned a long time ago too, when I was writing a lot of songs and I was trying to finish an album and I wouldn't finish it. And then later I read about that, like how it's always good to finish something because psychologically it's messing you up when you don't. So, like, especially not having the money to finish albums, sometimes it would take me 2-3 years just to finish an album. But when I would finish it, there was this instant, like, your life just moves forward. So something is happening when you're not doing things that's stalling your life, and that causes tower moments, right? As they say in the tarot. In case you don't know what I'm talking about with tower moments, it's like the tower, when they do the readings, and if a tower comes out, it means like, that something's about or possibly could happen that would cause, things to kind of fall apart. It's usually like that. Like the tower is almost like, I dreamed of that before. Like, before I even knew what tarot cards were, I dreamed of towers, and I remember shaking them down. Or I've dreamed of towers where, I made them fall on somebody else. But you could see that the towers were all flimsy, which means like, they weren't built, they weren't solid. So they had to come down, because that's how it is. When something's not solid, what happens? You keep building on it, and eventually it'll tumble because it's not strong there's no foundation to it, right? So that's what happens, like relationships, not just like, romantic relationships, but any kind of relationship, friendships, jobs, you build them on an unsolid foundation and they will crumble eventually, right? So just like empires, right? Or nations, countries, a country built on murder, rape, this and that, eventually is going to fall. It's just a matter of time, because they never fix the foundation, unless they fix the foundation. But as you can see, some people don't want to look in the mirror and say, oh yeah, this is really happened. We need to hold ourselves accountable. And so eventually it's just a matter of time before it crumbles, right? No matter how long it takes, it will crumble. Okay, so I had to do something real quick. So I just want to share about this story, and then I'll close it out. That was a huge kind of like tower moment for me, right? And it kind of, it led to all this, I guess, misery, right? Because I didn't handle it. So, when I was at my job of like 9 years, I probably got a ton of signs that it was time for me to leave, and I just wasn't acting, right? And so, one day I get to work, I'm 30 minutes, in my car, just deciding, okay, I'm going to go tell them I want to put in my 2 weeks notice. I didn't really have a plan what I was going to do. I just knew, I guess at the time I had it in my head, like, because when I left the job, I was going to have a nice amount of money. I was like, okay, I'll hit the music thing or whatever. So 30 minutes, I'm sitting in the car thinking, okay, I'm going to go put in my 2 weeks notice. So then I go, and I'm just like, I'll just do it after I get off of work. And then after that, like halfway through the shift, the manager has a heart attack or something, like a stroke heart attack. And so after that, I was like, okay, well, I guess I can't go now and be like, oh, well, sorry he had a heart attack, but, I want to give my 2 weeks notice. And I was a supervisor, so it was like, I was part of the management, so that's why it mattered, I guess, because, like, oh, I'm a supervisor, and yeah, sorry, we're going to be short the manager, but I want to put my 2 weeks notice in, right? So I felt bad about it. So after that, I stayed another 2 months, and I was just as miserable as it gets. It was like the worst. It just got even worse, right? So then finally, my performance, everything just got so bad that I guess finally someone asked me, hey, like, someone was saying you don't want this job anymore. I guess they just felt that from my actions. And I was like, yeah, I want to give my 2 weeks notice. And they were surprised, and they still gave me the whole like, oh, are you sure you're gonna give up your benefits? You're gonna give up this, that. So they kind of did the whole, but I knew. And then I even went and, I think the day I left or the day before my last day, I drove out to the beach and I asked, I was like, hey, I'm making the right decisions or something. And I saw a shooting star. So I was like, okay, thank you. Like right as I asked, like I saw a shooting star, so I was like, okay. And then the next day there was a coyote in front of my house on my last day of work, which, always shows like, yeah, everything was as it should be kind of thing. Like things had to happen a certain way for this to happen, right? So that was a tower moment. The tower moment was when the manager had like the heart attack, right? Like I wasn't taking action. Well, actually, the whole 2 months of misery was because I should have put in my 2 weeks notice then, but instead I stayed another 2 months of misery because I didn't do what I was supposed to, right? I had a plan, I didn't stick to it. So a lot of times that's what it is. Having a plan and not sticking to it can cause that, right? And so, even right now I'm thinking of all these things, right? So that's kind of what it is. I know I was probably all over the place, but I guess that's the best way for people to understand through giving, me giving examples, right? Like of things in life that were tower moments, like, after that things ended up great, right? So for a whole year after I left that job, I kind of didn't know, like I was doing stuff, right? I think I released the whole album, but then after it was kind of hard because, I spent money to make a good album, but then, you need all this money for promotion. So I was kind of stuck with this good product, but, really no way to distribute it. I mean, I put it up for sale, but it was just, and I printed out CDs and everything. But, I don't know, maybe I wasn't pushing it enough, right? Or something like that. But then I fell into the acting, and then I did that for, the last 6-7 years or something, since 2014. So, and then that, like with the old job, it was like, I'd be surprised if I had a good day at work. With the acting, I was surprised if I had a bad day at work, right? It completely flipped. And had things not gone the way they did, had I not had tower moments and all this crazy stuff happening that pushed me, I would have never experienced that. I would have been like, kind of how everyone feels that, you're not supposed to be happy at your job. It's your job. And then that's it. And that's just how it goes, So I got to experience that you don't have to be miserable at your job, like, so that was a crazy stuff. But, it's like that. But I did definitely have a dark night of the soul, like last year. There's still remnants of it, but nothing like that, right? Thinking like, if this continues, like, I don't even want to be here. Like, it was that bad, right? Like, to where it just didn't feel like there was going to be any light at the end of the tunnel. But it was all forcing. It forces you to take action. So that would be my best advice. Like any little thing you may think it's the most insignificant thing. Maybe just that. Mending things with somebody, right? Like someone, I got to see that pretty early on. I remember being with this, in this relationship where, it was a really toxic relationship. I didn't, know about that word yet. I didn't know nothing about that. But even that, right? Like I was already making music. And so sometimes that, right, I had a lot like singer friends, a lot of female singer friends, male singer, whatever. But sometimes someone would text me or something, and this the person I was with would be like, oh, who's that? Oh, a little thing like that. Like, oh, it's a friend. Just because I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear the nagging like, oh, because that's how, if it was a girl, it was like, oh, who's like, oh, so-and-so, like, are you hooking up? This blah, blah. All that BS, right? It was just so draining. So I remember even lying about that once. And, I wouldn't lie. So I started breaking out, and that's how they got me, right? Like, I guess, I had like the clearest skin. And then all of a sudden, because I said that lie, like within a week, I started breaking out. And I knew, subconsciously, I knew that that's what it was. And so finally I was like, it was so-and-so and whatever. And of course, we argued about it. But then, I guess luckily I cared more about my breaking out and all that than the relationship. So I was like, then I was just brutally honest, right? And I became like, because of that relationship, I became so honest that it was insane. Like I just didn't, I didn't care, you know. Every once in a while, probably that maybe I'll say something, but then I would always say the truth because because of things like that, or even that. I think sometimes I would have like a back pain. I knew it's like carrying, you know, you're carrying something. So I would have a back pain, and it was because something that I didn't want to say because I didn't want to argue, and then I was like, you know what, this boom, and then the pain would disappear. So I learned early on that every little thing, even though you think it's not gonna affect you, it really does. Subconsciously, the subconscious mind is something so insanely like beyond our comprehension, right? But that's why, you know, I don't want to get all into like conspiracy or because it's not conspiracy, but you know, that's why they use a lot of stuff. That's why people are all messed up, don't even know why. Because probably so much subconscious stuff they're putting in commercials and movies. Everything's meant to trigger you in some way. So you not understanding this in life, you know, you could be good. All of a sudden you're angry at something, or, you know, you're hungry, or you this, you're that. Everything is, you know, like when I was going to school for that, I remember they said like the average person gets like 1,000 advertisements a day. This was before cell phones were putting advertisements, all this stuff. So this is just like your average TV consumption and billboards and all this stuff, or ads on a bus or a bus stop or a bus bench or all this stuff. Like that was just those advertisements, or reading a magazine. Then with the world of cell phones, who knows? Like if we're getting 1,000 before that, we're probably getting like over 2,000 advertisements that are all triggering responses and messing up your head, right? I don't know how I got into that, but whatever. Like just to say that, right? So yeah, Dark Night of the Soul, Tower moments, understanding that, oh yeah, the subconscious mind. That's why I was talking about that. You are taking things in. If you're holding on to things, leaving things incomplete, eventually it'll cause tower moments, and even if you don't address them, it'll hit you with a dark night of the soul. Excuse me. Like, which is usually a good thing. It's never really a bad thing. You could be, you know, the universe knows. Like I said, like I dream things and they come true, right? Just like the whole getting hit on the bike and everything. So I understand that it's almost like everything's already written. Because to me, it's like there's no way I could dream these things with such accuracy unless they already exist somewhere, right? That has to be how it is, right? So that means that maybe, you know, the universe probably already knows you need this, or maybe it was part of your like you. It's like weird because it's still free will, but you know, constantly we're asking for help, right? We're praying, oh God this, God that, or whoever you pray to, right? You know, if you Catholic, you probably pray to the Virgen, or you know, other people pray to other entities, all this stuff. Whoever you're praying to, ancestors, this, that, they're trying to help you. And so, you know, be like, you know, it's like someone that's stuck in a relationship. You'll get a million red flags and you're still like, sometimes you'll never learn, right? Sometimes, you know, maybe it was part of the thing, you know, and or you'll catch this person doing something, or if you're in an abusive relationship, tons of things that at that moment you should cut it, but you just stay in. And it could be your ancestor. All these people you're praying to, oh, please help me. Show me a sign, and the sign's there. It's like that saying where there's like a guy, there's a flood, and there's a guy on a roof, and he's praying to God, oh, get me out of here. And then a guy passes on a boat, hey, get in. Oh, well, you know, God, you know, God's gonna get me out of this. Okay, boom. Then a helicopter comes. Hey, come on, climb up. No, God's gonna get me out of this. Boom. Next thing you know, this person drowns, and then in heaven they're like, hey, you know, I send you the boat, I send you the helicopter, I send you, and then they just, so that's really how it is in real life, right? Like we pray, we get tons of signs, and those are really the tower moments in the dark night of the soul. It's heavy stuff, but if you make it through to the other side, it's like you agree to it or something, or they're doing it to benefit you, right? And it is to that. Sometimes it is to the point. Cause see, like even me, when once you get pushed to the point of you're like, well, I'm gonna take my own life, or I just can't deal with this, then what do you gotta be afraid of at that point, right? You know, huge breakthrough I had when I was I think it helped me be more brave with the music, right? It's hard. Like people say people fear public speaking more than death. Literally, like it's a statistic. I'm sure if you look it up, that people fear public speaking more than death. Maybe this was before like videos, and now everybody wants to be viral and stuff. But before it was like people feared public speaking more than death. So, uh, when before I was like, with the music, it was hard to go perform every time, all this stuff. It was really hard. And when I was in the military, I remember I had a dream that I was in a desert, and it was like death was waiting for me, right? Death was waiting for me in the desert. So 2 days later, I got a call that, a certain unit, because my unit wasn't going to Iraq. So they were like, you know, oh, this unit's going to Iraq. If you want to go with them, call. And so I did, instantly. I remembered the dream. I was like, oh, wow. Like, so I guess this is where I'm supposed to go die or something. So I had the choice, and I did it. I was like, screw it. I don't care. All right. Like, I saw death, and, it's funny because it was smiling at me. And I was like, all right. Like, here I come. Screw it. And I knew at that point how accurate my dreams were. So I already knew. And then something happened, and I ended up getting in trouble. And it was like, so it was like the universe's way of, and they didn't let me go, right? Because it wasn't with my unit. It was going to be with another unit. And then this gunnery sergeant, I guess he was like, you ain't going nowhere. Like, because of whatever, like me messing up and stuff. And so it was funny, like the universe, but because of that, it made me brave. It was like, damn, what do I gotta be afraid? I was really gonna go. Me dreaming of death, I was already gonna go, which is maybe, in a sick way, it's like suicidal in another way. Like, I don't know what, obviously I was going, I don't know what the hell was in my head. Or me just saying like, screw you, like I ain't afraid of you kind of thing. I don't know what, but then it was like, okay, yeah, if I wasn't afraid to go, after having that premonition, it came true. And then still being like, yeah, called up, boom, boom, boom. I was good to go. Like, okay, cool. I asked the person, I forgot if it was a colonel or what, the guy that was in charge of, where I was at, my unit. And, he was like, yeah, he gave me the green light to go. And then just that gunnery sergeant after, he was like, well, no way, like, you're not going nowhere because of this and that. So, I didn't end up going, but that whole experience made me be able to, once you face death, if you're willing to face death, then there's really nothing to be afraid of. I don't know if it has to, like, I don't know that I was necessarily afraid of anything recently as to why I got hit by a car. Like, obviously I could have gone sideways, but it definitely triggered something. And it did, even though yesterday was like a whole days, I was taking action, a lot of things that I needed to do, that to set wheels in motion for other things. So just that tower moments will come. I hope I explained it in a way. Hope I try to explain it in my way. I know other people are more like technical or by the book, and hopefully that makes sense, that when you don't do things, it causes those moments of like where everything comes tumbling down. And if you don't get the lesson there, eventually it'll lead to a dark night of the soul. That's really all it is. But it's like almost like that. Like, it's meant to make you progress, or you're going to just collapse. Hopefully you'll push through it. Once you push through it, you're going to come out stronger. And hopefully you'll remember those lessons. So later on in life, because you could always have another dark night of the soul, more tower moments, more this and that. But it is on you. It is your choice. We have plenty of signs. Like I said, how I was tested on my birthday, right? It's funny. Like, I know, like, in my head, it's like, I talked about being tested, like, sexually, like this and that. And I thought, like, man, what if I would have taken that action, like, and I would have felt so, like, depressed after. Like, I would have felt like my self-esteem would have plummeted. Like, I would have just, not been able to look at myself in the mirror or something, right? Like, for that action, even though to the average person, maybe it seems like it's no big deal. But for me, it would have probably affected me, like, in a very negative way. You know what I mean? So there's things like that, right? Like just so many lessons, and their moments, right? And they seem harmless, but that's what could cause your whole, the ripple effect. There's little things that are gonna cause things to happen, right? So okay, I'll end it there. I think I went all over the place, but hopefully you guys followed along, and I hope you guys are well. yeah, if I need to explain it better, I'll make another one. Don't forget to subscribe, like, you know, if you feel like someone might get something out of it, share it, comment, all that good stuff. Let me know about your Dark Night of the Soul experience or tower moments, right? All right, peace. Yeah, man, I think sometimes we just make things harder than they're supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I know.
Things ain't really supposed to be hard.
Yeah, I know.
I think we just let them get
And though the
hard.
funniest thing happened to me today, what's that? I seen the Rolls Royce broke down on the highway, and I was like, damn, I'm glad I'm not him. Could you believe that, homie? Shoot, I was like, I'm glad I'm not him. Cause there's some things that are far more important, like having a car that works. Nah, I'm just joking. I quit with my smoking, so now I run better. Got 4 more endurance when I go against the current. Cause nowadays it's current. Folks follow trends that make no sense, but guess nobody told them better. They learn how to sever culture with lies. Yes, the devil is wise. Yes, the devil is wise. Watch what I say, dog, it's okay, cause I already lived more than I had ever hoped for. But nowadays I'm hopeful. I think we could learn how to put the past behind and work on this grind. Come on. I know.
Life ain't really supposed to be hard.
Yeah, I know.
I think we just let life get hard.
I know.
Things ain't really supposed to be hard.
Yeah, I know.
I think we just let them get
Sit
hard.
back and reminisce while I sip on this. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, sometimes you just feeling it, you know what I'm saying? You just feeling it. And I wanna feel this way forever.